I'm Chef Don McMillan, so let's get started with the very best apple pie. Today we're going to make the best apple pie. This is an old family favorite of mine. My mother made it, my grandmother made it, and now you're going to make it because I'm going to show you how to do it. It's so great. Please leave in the comments anything that you have. Maybe you've got some family recipe that you'd like to share, some comments about what we're doing today. Love to hear it, and definitely you got to subscribe because we've got so many great things coming up that you don't want to miss any of it. And always be sure to leave a comment and like us. It's so very important. I'm Chef Don McMillan, so let's get started with the very best apple pie. So to make the very best apple pie, we're going to do it with some sugar. I've got 2/3 of a cup of sugar. I need just a pinch of salt. I don't like to use a lot of salt, but you do need to use some to bring out the wonderful flavors. In addition to that, we have some nutmeg and some cinnamon. Let's get that in there. I don't over cinnamon my apple pies either. Some people like a lot of cinnamon. I prefer just enough to give you that nice burst of flavor. But you know what we're doing? We're building on the flavors. So we're adding up the wonderful flavors so that when it comes out, it will excite your palate. Now, we do need some flour because these apples have so much juice in them. You know when you squeeze apples, you get all that apple juice. Well, when we bake these apples inside our pie, a lot of juice is going to come out. We need to put some flour to hold it all together and make a very nice apple filling. Now let's go ahead and just stir all of these ingredients. So we're mixing them all up. You could put it in a sifter if you wish, but this is so easy. We just put it all in the same bowl and just move it around. So here's my apples. I've peeled them. I'm going to show you an easy way to core an apple. I'm going to place my knife right there in the center and then cut it in quarters again. And then you see where the seed is right there. I'm going to go to this side of it, cut down, move it, and then cut this way. And look, I take that part out that we don't want in the pie. This center here, like that, move this back, and continue till we get all 4 of the apple done. Okay, now I want even slices. These are a little too thick, so what I'm going to do is just put my hand like this, do a bridge and cut in between and place it right there in our bowl. So they're all very much the same size. Now, you've seen me peel the apples. They're peeled apples. I also like to do apple pie with the peels on. So it depends on what you like. You decide, okay? Either way, it works. And I also like to use a variety of apples. So even though we are using maybe Golden Delicious apples or Granny Smith apples, they work wonderful in the pie. Some apples like McIntosh has a little more juice in them. Keep that in mind. But I like to even mix up the apples a little bit. I like a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of tart. It gives it a whole new flavor profile. And everything we do, you already know, is about the flavor. So keep that in mind. Those are the memories that we build. These are the types of things you want to do with someone that's younger. Have them bake or cook beside you because they'll share these memories as they get older. And I think it's just so good. You know, food is so important. It plays a big part in our lives. You never have somebody come over to your house and don't at least give them a glass of iced tea, right? So think about the apple pie. Remember the pictures of an apple pie cooling off in the window and somebody comes along and helps themselves? You know, I used to work on a ship. I learned a lot of cooking working in the Merchant Marine. And I hate to put my apple pies out to cool and then turn my back because these guys would come off a watch and before you know it, the pie would be gone or there'd be very little left. Okay, apples. I now am going to take a little bit of lemon zest and some lemon juice. It gives it a nice flavor profile. It takes that little bit of acid and changes it. So I have a zester here, and what I want to do with the zester is just bring it across the fruit, and I just want the outside of it, not the inside, not the pits. So only one swipe. Okay, see the zest in there? Tap your microplane and there it goes. Now I'm going to add a little bit of juice. I'm going to show you a little trick to using this juicer. I love this particular juicer. It does a great job. I want to get the maximum amount of juice out of my fruit. To do this, I cut off the two ends, exposing the juice part of the lemon. Then I cut it in half like that. Place it into the juicer like that. Squeeze, and then open it up and flip it, and look at this, we get even more juice out of the lemon slice, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking to get that juice in there. Now I'm going to just give it a little bit of a twist so that that lemon juice coats the apples, gives it a nice little flavor profile. We already have the zest in there, so that's going to make it happy. And to complete the picture, we're going to add in our sugar, flour, and spices. And now let's go ahead and mix those together. Do a good job mixing them, and don't worry about the apples being bruised or cutting in half. They're all gonna just be so wonderful. Once people stick a fork into the baked pie, well, what can I say? Doesn't get any better. Apple pie, the all-American dessert. Okay, so our mixture is ready, and of course the next thing we need to do is to get our pie dough ready. Well, we're going to finish now our apple pie. We've already made that great filling. Now we're going to use our crust. So if I hadn't told you earlier, we have the perfect crust recipe. So if you want a pie crust that will just knock your socks off, check us out. We got a couple. One is using lard, and the other one is using butter and shortening. Okay, let's go ahead and get this one started. Take a little bit of flour, spread it around. Remember, we put the pie dough in the refrigerator because we need to chill it. You want this dough cold. You want that butter, when we roll it out, to just be layers, layer in between, so that when it bakes off, it's nice and flaky. And that's the very best apple pie you're gonna make. All right, let me go ahead and just give it a little bit of a push. The warmth of my hand will help that a little bit. And now we're gonna show you how to roll out the dough. Put some flour on your rolling pin as well. When I roll my dough, I don't go back and forth. I start in the center and roll out. In the center, roll back. Turn it, and we'll do the same thing. One way, the other way. If it starts to crack a little bit, that's because the cold butter is in there and it's doing its job. It'll all pull together, not to worry. You can flip it and continue the rolling process. You know why we shaped it, into a round, and that's so it would fit into our round pie pan. It makes it easy for us to do that. I'm just gonna do this, put it back. A little more flour, and continue the rolling process. If it sticks to the bottom of the board, you can just use your dough scraper and go underneath to release it. And be patient, because the end results are worth all the efforts. Enough flour underneath, not too much, but enough. And you see our dough is coming together, okay? It's warming up just a little bit. Now, how wide should you roll the dough? I'm going to show you how you would know that. What you want to do is you want to take your pie pan and place it right there in the center. And if you can see an edge, then you know you've got it rolled thin enough. Otherwise, you just got to make up the lost areas over here. So I'm just going to patch this together a little bit. And patching is done all the time, not to worry. It's the reason that we work so hard to get all that good flavor in there. Here's my dough scraper. Just go around, be sure it's not sticking to the board. A little bit more flour. And we just give it a little bit of a roll more. We're almost there. Remember, not back and forth, just one direction. Just like that. Let's see what it looks like right now. Great. Now, how do you get the dough from the board into the pan? What you want to do is you want to fold your dough in half. So I'm going to be sure it's not stuck to the board again. And then just fold it in half. You always bring the pan to the dough, not vice versa. We don't have to worry about greasing our pan because there's a lot of fat in the dough already. But we do want to pick it up and put it right there in half and fold it over. If the dough breaks a little bit in the middle, we just patch it up with our fingers. It's just that easy. So what I'm doing now with the back of my hand, back of my fingers, I'm just pushing it into the side of the pan. Okay, and now where we see a little bit of a space here and there, I'll take some of the excess dough that's over here and we'll just patch it right back into here. This dough is so much better than the stuff that you buy already made by machines. This was made with love, with human hands. And we know that every bite is going to be treasured and remembered. Okay, now if there's any excess dough hanging on the side, just leave it there because we're going to cut it off in just a little while, not to worry. All right, be sure that there's no spaces. If you see one or a little crack, take some excess dough and just patch it. It's all going to come out just beautifully. Now, we're going to put our apples into the pie. This is going to be a deep dish pie because we got lots of apples and we want to share. And oh, they're going to be so wonderful. So wonderful. Wonderful apples. Great filling. Get all of that good right in there. All right, let's distribute them. Just like that. And before I put the top on my pie, I've got to show you a little secret. And of course, I learned this secret from a John Wayne movie. I learned from life. We all do, right? And that secret is the butter. Now, how do I know this? He did a wonderful movie, and he didn't have any ranch hands, and he had to bring his cattle to market. So to do that, he recruited a lot of young men, young boys from different ranches. And they had to have a cook. So when they were recruiting the cook, this one man was applying for the job, and his whole application was explain how to make an apple pie. All American, right? So as he was making the apple pie, he would say, and the last thing that I do is add 2 tablespoons of butter into the pie because that's what my mother would do. John Wayne turned around to his on-screen wife. She nodded in approval, and the guy got the job. So there, if you want to have the job, don't forget to put the butter in your apple pie. Now, we're going to do the top of the pie. So let me just cut this off to the side. I've got some more helpful tips, so don't go, stick around because we've got some great things to share. Because I want to show you how to do the top now. All right, more flour. Take your pie dough out of the plastic wrap. This is the one that was in the refrigerator. So it's going to be a little cold, a little hard, but it'll warm up to the situation very quickly. I know because it wants to get into the oven. It wants to join this other pie dough in there. Okay, let's push it down just a little bit. This is the heat from your hands, just helping it a little bit. As you will see, it'll look like it's cracking up. Not to worry, because that's the cold butter and the cold shortening that's in there. And we just want to get that going. Keep this round shape. Like that. And then we push. And we push. Center, push, center, push. It gets easier as the dough is thinning out. We want to flip it. A little more flour underneath. And keep that process going. If it starts to crack, we'll put it all together. It will do that anyway because it wants to be one. You know, when we made this pie dough, we surely did not want to put a lot of liquid in there when we put in the cold water, because all we really want is that fat and the flour to come together to make a crispy, flaky, delicious crust. And everybody knows it's not what's in the pie, it's what the pie is in that gives it the flavor. If you don't believe me, just try serving somebody an apple pie and not give them any crust. They'll let you know real quick. That's not the way to do it. Okay. Take your scraper, be sure the dough is not being stuck to the bottom. A little more flour on your rolling pin. And then just keep rolling away. This is a wonderful chore that you can give a young one. I know I have 8 grandchildren, and when they know one, they call me grand-père because my wife is French, and so he's grand-mère, so obviously I'm grand-père. They know that when I'm coming over, we're going to be cooking together, and I always like to cook things that they like to eat. Okay, now what I'm going to do is to place the dough in half again like I did before. Again, release it from the board. Fold it in half. Bring your pie dish to the dough. Take your cutter and make a series of slots right there. This is to allow the air, the ingredients when it starts steaming up, to come out of the pie and not cause the pie shell to explode. Bring your pie crust right there, and then we're going to flip it. Okay, now I need a little piece over here. We're going to show you how to crimp the pie. You can get one of those fancy pie crimpers. I'm just using my fingers. If you want, you can even use a fork. That works as well. So what I do is I just use my fingers and I squeeze it together just like this. See, squeeze, 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 causing the top dough to unite with the bottom. Squeeze, 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 until you complete the edge of the pie. Okay, I got a little piece here and there, and we'll just fix it so easily. Now, let's go ahead and cut off the edges. And we're going to save the excess to use to make puppy dog tails, which I'll show you at the end of this video. Because you definitely want to reward the little people that are helping you. And now I'm going to make an egg wash. For an egg wash, I'm going to use an egg. I'm going to break the egg on a flat surface. I don't want to break it on an edge because when you do on the edge, you get a lot of shards, and I only want to crack the egg in half. So one time, lift it up like this, let the eggs go in there, and then I'm going to put a little bit of water, and 1 tablespoon of water, 1 egg, and then just beat it together. And that is now our egg wash. We'll take a pastry brush, and with the pastry brush we just go ahead and paint the top of our pie. This is going to give it a beautiful golden color that you'll see after it comes out of the oven. Yes, nice. Okay, I think we get it. Let's go around the edges, see if we have any holidays there we missed. We don't want to do that. Good. Now our pie is ready to go into our preheated oven. It's been preheated to 425 degrees. Okay, now it's time to place our apple pie into the oven. So I've got it at 425 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and put it in there and set my timer for 20 minutes. I'm going to look at it. I may need to put a collar or some aluminum foil around the edges, but we'll know that in about 20 minutes when we look at it. I want it to get a nice color right now. So let's go ahead, open the oven, wait 3 seconds, let the hot air come out, and then we're going to go ahead and put the pie into our oven. You see I have it on a pan just in case it bubbles over, and the reason I do that is I don't like to clean oven. So let's go ahead and do that, and the pan also will give it a more of an even temperature and cooking surface on the bottom. Okay, I told you if you stuck around to the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to make puppy dog tails. And the reason you're going to do this is because you've got your children, your grandchildren, young people with you that are making this apple pie. You have to reward them. Let me give you a little bit of word of caution, okay? When you tell a young person, so I'm talking about people like 6, 7 years old, they listen to every word you tell them, and they will do exactly as you tell them. It's when they become teenagers they don't listen, okay? So at this point, I've got to tell you one story. I was teaching this grade, they're first graders, they're all 6-year-olds, and they were out there, and every one of them wanted to come up and work with me, help me. We were doing some really neat things. We're making cream puff swans, and for that I had to break some eggs. So I wanted to get one individual to come up, so I said, has anybody broken an egg? And everybody's hand was raised but one. And I said, this is my lucky day. I finally found someone did not know how to break an egg. So I said to this young man, I said, you've never broken an egg? He said, no. And when he came up here, I looked at him and I asked him again. I said, are you sure you've never broken it? He said, no, I've never broken an egg. I said, well, great. I'm going to show you how to break an egg. What I want you to do is to take the egg, crack it on a flat surface, and I want you to put it in the bowl. Now I'm going to show you exactly what he did. He cracked it just like I showed him, and he put it in the bowl. Just like that. You can laugh. Because I learned from that young man. He taught me exactly. He did what I told him to do. I didn't tell him to put the contents in the bowl. Now here's the I don't know if it's sad, but the rest of the story, everybody in the audience laughed, except for the little boy. He turned around and looked up to me with a tear in his eye, and he said, what did I do wrong? And I said, you know what? You didn't do anything wrong. You did exactly what I told you. And from now on, anytime I tell somebody to put an egg in the bowl, I'm not going to assume, especially when they already told me they never broke an egg before, right? That you just put the contents in the bowl. Now I made a mess, but you know, that's the story. What can I say? All right, we're gonna make an egg wash without the eggshells, okay? So what I'm gonna do is just place a little bit of cold water in my bowl, whip it up, incorporate the water with the egg, and then we're gonna place that on the cutting board, take some flour, place it down there in the center, take some sugar, put a little bit of cinnamon, not too much, just a little bit, That's all you need, just a little bit of cinnamon. Just go ahead and mix this up. Okay, cinnamon. Now, whenever you work with pie dough, remember what I said earlier, less is best. So I do not take the dough that's already been rolled once and then re-roll it again to make the dough. What's going to happen? You're going to have a very tough and close structured dough. It won't be flaky, it'll be chewy, okay? But if you're making puppy dog tails, it's all the best. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this and we're going to, and now the reason I say puppy dog tails, because my mother taught me that, it was my brother and I, but if you've got girls, I'm sure that you could come up with maybe some other classic examples of what they're called. But whatever they are, they're a wonderful treat. It's a great way to use the dough. Sometimes I even take the excess dough. If I'm making, say, a chicken pot pie, I have a little cutter, has a little chicken in the cutter, and I'll cut them out and put them on top of the chicken pot pie, and that gives it a nice little appearance. So you can do that even for some holiday cooking. You can take some holiday cutouts, cookie cutters, and cut them out and put them on top of the pie as well. So you see when I'm doing this dough now, it's even more structured. It's a little tougher to roll, and that's because this is the second time around. The third time around even gets more hard. Okay, now we don't care what it looks like on the edges. We don't have to measure it. All we want to do is to take our pizza cutter, a knife will work just as well, and then just cut it into little tails, little strips. Go ahead and place those. I have got a sheet pan. I've got some parchment paper on it, and the reason I did that, it just makes it a little bit easier to release from it. You can make these different sizes and shapes as they fall apart. It doesn't matter. They're all going to be consumed anyway. They're going to be eaten, and it's going to be tasty. Just wonderful. Now this does not take as long, obviously, to bake, because the pie, we have the filling in there. We've got 2 layers. We just want to bake this off, so I'll just stick this in the oven while the pie is baking, and then what'll happen, it'll probably be done in about maybe 15-20 minutes. That's about all. Okay, we got room for one more. Yep, right there. Now there's the egg wash. Hit it with the egg wash. This is going to make the cinnamon sugar stick to it, and even give it a nicer color, and of course that cinnamon sugar is going to give it lots of good flavors. I'm going to add just a touch more cinnamon there, just a little bit more, not much. Okay, sprinkle it on. And this is what you do when the young people help you, and especially good. In my case, with my brother and I, when it was raining outside, we loved to play basketball. However, when it was raining outside, we had to play basketball in the house. That drove my mother insane. So she would always reward us for not playing basketball, and we lived in an apartment, so I tell you, that wasn't any fun. All right, this is gonna go into our same hot oven, and like I said, about 15-20 minutes. They'll start to get a little bit crispy around the edges, and they're ready to consume. Okay, we've taken our pie out of the oven. It's been in there for about 40 minutes. I just noticed that the edges are getting a little bit too brown. I gotta put the pie in the oven for another 10 or 15 minutes. So in order to protect the edges on my pie so it doesn't look like burnt or crust, I'm going to go ahead and make a collar. So to do that, I got 2 lengths of thin foil, and we'll take our foil and just fold it, and then we're going to take this, fold like that, and just bring it around the pie, just like this, and gently put it in there. It doesn't have to fit to mold itself to it. It just needs to stay there so that it would reflect the heat as it's coming around. So let's do that other one right here. We'll just fold it, and then just a light crease right here. Bring it around, and then just tuck it in and around. And I'm going to take this and place it back into the oven and let it cook for another 10 or 15 minutes. I've taken the apple pie out of the oven. You can still see the steam just coming right out. It's so good. Remember, I put that collar on there, so we're going to take the collar, and the reason we did that is because we didn't want the crust to burn. Sometimes that happens, and we want a perfect pie, or at least something that is attractive. And of course, we know this is our best apple pie. So this is our best apple pie. It's easy. Some people say it's even a perfect apple pie. Be sure you subscribe to our channel. Please leave us some comments below. We'd love to hear. I'd love to get back to you. Hit the like button. You're definitely going to like this recipe. I know you will. We've got so much cooking videos that are coming up. They're lots of fun, and we want you to be part of that. If you need the recipe, it's in the description. And remember that, as always, our recipes are simple and, of course, they're delicious.